Introduction. Cognitive development is primarily concerned with the ways in which infant and children acquire the development and use internal mental capabilities such as problem solving, memory and language. The capacity to learn, remember and symbolize information and to solve problems exists at a simple level in young infants. During childhood, learning and information processing increases in speed, memory becomes increasingly longer, and symbol use and the capacity for abstraction development until a near adult level reached by adolescence. Many factors affect this process. However, the one main factor on which all this innings is the development of language. This starts anytime between 6 months and after, when the child starts understanding simple one syllable words. Children start talking themselves by the time the age 3, although when a child start is highly distinctively unique to each child. Language abilities continues to grow during middle childhood. At this age, children get better with oral and written communication. Children's readiness to learn in school depends on their experience. The synthesis of basic language is essential for perception and abstraction, and also the child to read, write and communicate his or her thought of increasing complexity and creativity. Language is particularly essential in the case for higher level abilities like abstraction, which depend to a considerable extent on language. Process may appear subtle from month to month, but it is dramatic from one school year to the next. As the child's language skills grow, he measures in his ability to understand the world and people around him and to function independently. Language development as genetic and other biological mechanisms. Environmental factors include food and nutrition, responsiveness of parents, daily experiences, physical activity and love can influence early language development of children. Development in language is also related to experience and learning. Let us look at the nuance of language development from age to age, from age 6 to 10. Age 6. At this age, the child's language abilities are much more complex and they want to express more complex ideas. The milestones below are what children of this age should achieve. Developing reading skill. Well, speech should be completely intelligible and socially useful. Can pronounce majority of the sounds, talk fluently and with confidence, can repeat a sentence that is at least 6 or more words long. Listening. Children of this age can follow 2 and 3 steps oral directions. They remain very literal and concrete thinker. They can listen to and understand grade level stories that are read aloud to them. They demonstrate listening comprehension by recalling information and responding to instruction. Speech. By this age, most sound patterns are established. When the child makes articulation errors, adults need to be role model for correct pronunciation as opposed to correcting the child. Lisping is very common and is due to tongue placement in the mouth. This is of no concern and the majority of children will improve with no intervention before turning 7. Some children take time to stabilize. They can maintain the topic conversation and take turns while speaking. They make good eye contact and are able to use language for multiple goals, such as to gain information, for entertainment or to pursue others. Vocabulary. The child can now recognize and spell many words. Spelling may be based on the sounds the words make, such as tree for tree, which is to be expected and corrected. They begin a time of rapid vocabulary expansion, learning 5-10 new words a day, reading and writing. Reading will begin to really take off at this age. Many 6-year-olds will begin or continue to develop independent reading and may begin to enjoy writing stories, especially about themselves. 6-year-olds may be able to write a short paragraph about what they did over summer vacation or a weekend. For instance, the number of sight words they know will grow and they will be able to break down words into sounds. They will be able to spell more words, though sometimes few becomes flood. They may enjoy reading simple stories books such as Frog and Todd or Clever Crow, and will be able to proudly retell basic plot and discuss what they liked or didn't like about the story. 6 and 7-year-old learns how to use writing conversations such as capitals and punctuations. Number and math. 6-year-olds will be able to count up even 10,000 and more. They can understand the concept of the dimensional system and be able to apply it while counting. They can mentally add up to 10. Children this age will also begin to understand concepts such as even and odd numbers and can identify shapes and work with them to create a new shapes. They can identify simple patterns and measure height and weight. They may be taught how to read time on analog clock and to identify and count money concepts. They may increase and expand their knowledge about the world around them, learning about weather patterns, their neighborhood and other states and countries. 6-year-old will increasingly understand the differences between real and imaginary. They become more interested in doing real things such as cooking real food instead of just playing kitchen. Children of this age come to understand the function and purpose of language. For example, the child can now point out what is strange about this sentence. A flea is huge or my fish is hard and furry. It is no surprise that 6 and 7-year-olds are often quite chatty, telling jokes, expressing ideas and making more extended comments on situation and events. 6-year-old children may benefit from playing games that require thinking about numbers, shapes and problem solving skills. Age 7, the ability to use language appropriately is the key milestone development for children of this age. They can be supported by being provided with lots of opportunities to use language in variety of settings for different purpose with both peer and unknown adults. It is only thought, repetition and meaningful connections can children achieve these milestones. Listening. Children of this age have increased memory capacities which allow them to listen for sustained period of time. They can follow complex directions with little repetition such as a series of instruction or a procedure for completing a task. They are capable of listening to television and radio program as well as guest speakers, attend to longer periods of teacher talk and contribute to class or family discussion on various topics. Speech. By 7, your child should have measured most speech sound and be talking fluently. Fluency is also an issue for children of this age. As a child's vocabulary increases at a rapid rate, a child's brain may race too quickly for their mouth and cause stuttering. Children may also repeat syllables in words. This descriptions too smooth speech usually self-corrects. Children are learning to express their opinions and can retell both real and imaginary events. They may also learn how to make their speech dramatic. They ask, answer factual as well as inferential questions, can give direction with 3-4 steps. They start using synonyms and categories in word definitions 7-9 years. The use of fricative language being and increases 7-9 years. Example, don't let the cat out of the bag, or you are pulling my leg. They can be hard asking questions to clarify issues and rephrasing their statements if people don't appear to understand them. Reading and writing. Mastery of basic reading and writing skill should happen by now. Instead of learning to read and write, they will be reading and writing to learn. 7-year-olds will also continue their rapid language development, and the number of sight words they know expands. They will be able to read more fluency, speed, accuracy and expressiveness, and will be able to have more in-depth discussions about book. They will also be able to write more complex and interesting essays and stories. The child can write quite a few words now, copy more complex shapes such as a diamond. Now, the child is more accurate with spelling and use a variety of sentence types in writing essays, poetry and short stories, numbers and maths. Children at this age have mastered simple addition and subtraction and will now be able to solve word problems. They will learn a place value and work with a 3-digit number and begin working on mentally adding and subtracting. They begin working with fractions. They understand and work with symbols such as and, or, is equal to. Children of this age have developed number and time concept and are capable of using language skills to solve concrete problem concepts. He or she should be able to describe common objects and explain what they are used for. Most children are instantly curious about the workings of their environment and like to hold long conversations, tell jokes or copy novels accents. They can readily understand opposites and analogies. They are begin to use language to explore issues and feelings. They are increasingly able to talk through problems and are now able to reason out issues. Age 8. Children by the end of this age group should have reached these milestones. They must have mastered all their speech sounds including consonant blends. Children should be able to control the rate, pitch and volume of their speech. Lisps and stuttering sounds have disappeared. Listening. At 8, listening skills continue to improve. Children now can listen qualitatively and interactively. Speech. The child is likely to be fluent in speaking. The child now uses complex sentences with few grammatical errors and good control of rate, pitch and volume. Language is generally polite and includes phrases like please and thank you, but may be increasingly influenced by peers and coded playground slang may be used. At age 8, children are usually confident using the telephone and can be taught how to contact emergency services. Children can recount an detailed series of events as well as sequence their speech when sharing. Recount, for example, first we went to the park and then we rode our skateboards. Next we. Children are using complex and compound sentences. They ask questions to clarify issues and rephrasing their statements if people don't appear to understand them. Children are learning to express their opinions and can retell both real and imaginary events. They may also learn how to make their speech dramatic. Reading and writing. At this age, children are usually confident at reading and writing. They know switch off from learning to read to reading to learn. They develop individualistic taste for books and may become obsessed with a particular series such as Harry Potter. An 8-year-old child will also be able to write in different genres such as fictional stories and essays. An 8-year-old will be able to produce writing that has logical beginnings, endings, plot point and sophisticated vocabulary. You may find an 8-year-old child writing engaging, informative and even entertaining. Math. Math will get more complicated for 8-year-old students who will begin to tackle multiplication and division. By the end of 3rd grade, 8-year-olds will begin working with fractions. Now, how to use graphs and work with probability and estimates concepts. The child is developing the ability to think about several things at once and can follow and remember fairly complicated instructions. They begin to have favorite subject at school. Children of this age have developed number and time concept and are capable for using language skill to solve concrete problem. They have developed way to recognize and respond to comprehension errors by questioning. They are able to plan for speech. They use adjectives and thinking and feeling verbs in their speech to express themselves. They understand how facial expressions and speech techniques influence the expressions of ideas. Children understand there is a difference between the way language is used on the playground and in the classroom. They can use a variety of greetings and farewells appropriately depending on the context and intended listener. Age 9. Discretion in speech is the main milestones of this age. Children can now understand how the language of their home differs from formal school's language and adjusts their use of language correctly. They can identify what slang is and when to use it. Children can also adjust their speech to suit familiar situation. For example, when speaking to a younger child, they would know to simplify the words used and to say the same thing using bombastic language when they see a need to impress. Listening. Children at this age are active listeners. Children at this age like to listen to a wider range of text being read aloud, and this may include lyrics and ballad poems. They no longer require visual support and can follow complex instructions for things which they cannot see. Speech. By this age, children's speech is almost at adult level and they can understand and use extensive vocabulary and complex sentence constructions. They are now able to think more independently, plan added better, think critically and have improved decision making and organizational skill. Children at this age will be able to give detailed account of event and topics. Children of this age enjoy sharing their opinions of movies or recently read books. They can express their own opinion with supporting ideas. Conversational skills get consolidated. They can now recite poems, reading and writing. 9-year-old children are able to write and read skillfully and will be able to express themselves using complex and sophisticated vocabulary and ideas. One can expect a 9-year-old child to be able to read different types of fictional and non-fictional works, including biographies, poems, historical fictions, suspenseful series and more. The child may now also be expected to produce various types of writing including book, reports, essay, fiction and historical fiction. 9-year-olds will be able to use research material from the library and the internet to gather information for reports on various subjects including historical events and figures, numbers and math. Math will become much more complicated in 4th grade. 9-year-old children will tackle multiplication and division of multiple digits, learn fractions and geometry and may begin algebra. They will learn how to make graphs and chart using data and will work on word problems that require analytical and logical thinking. By the end of 4th grade, 9-year-old children will know how to add and subtract fractions, now about different angles and how to measure them and be able to collect, recognize and share data in reports and presentation and do a simple geometry concepts. The child will usually be intensely curious about the world and how things work. They understand that object can be classified into a categories. Children of this age are learning how to use language to show they agree or disagree with the statements of others. Age 10. Logical thinking and reasoning expressed in appropriate language is the hallmark of 10-year-old child development. The child can now reason, use logic, think about cause and effect and take information acquired in one context to use in another. This is the main milestones that a 10-year-old reaches. Listening. Children at 10 years not only active but alert listeners and they are quick to catch up with coordinations. They listen very attentively to what interests them and simply turn a deaf ear or what does not. Speech. Children aged 10 are consolidating their expressive language skills and learning to express themselves in a range of situations. They have almost adult language skills and can hold prolonged conversations both with other children and with adults outside the family. They enjoy using their communication skills to talk to others in person or on the telephone. They comprehend how speech is logically sequenced and comprehend information, data or result and use that information to from an opinion which they can justify. They are now able to offer feedback and verbal encouragement to their peers. They are capable of brief presentation on a given topic. A child of this age can debate on issues. They can now verbally represent things positively or negatively. Children of this age understand that just as they write for different purpose, they need to talk differently depending on the situation and the concept began talked about. Children learn that there is the language they use aloud as well as their body language which can combine to give the same message or many present two different ideas, reading and writing. Most children of this age read and enjoy more complex and lengthier books. Children now read books in stages, begin to able to pick up threads where they left off. They may now start to enjoy reading non-fiction topics. They will be able to analyze, criticize and write persuasive essays. The habit of reading a newspaper and magazines often begins now. Math. They now work with more complex geometry concepts, use formula to calculate areas and comprehend algebra. They have improved mental math skills and will be increasingly more able to use logic and abstract thinking to solve verbal math problems. Any difficulty with reading, math or other subject that is spotted must be reported to an appropriate special educationalist now. Concepts. They may learn concepts such as metaphor and similes and will continue to learn more difficult vocabulary words. Children at this age are very interested in discussing their personal feelings and opinions. Children at this age are able to explore the responses and attitude of others through language. They now start to look beyond their personal experiences and acquired language and expand their perspective beyond simplistic right wrong assessments to realize that many actions and events in the wider world need to be interpreted in shades of grey. Conclusion. Students in this session will have seen in detail how children of the age 6 to 10 years are growing and analyzed their development of language and thought step by step. Let me summarize the concepts we'll have discussed for better understanding. Cognitive development is primary concern with ways in which infants and children acquire, develop and use internal mental capabilities such as problem solving, memory and language. One main factor on which all this hinges is development of language. Language abilities such as oral and written skills continue to grow during middle childhood. The synthesis of basic language is essential for perception and abstraction and allows the child to read, write and communicate his or her thoughts of increasing complexity and creativity. As the child language skills grow, he measures in his ability to understand the world and people around him and to function independently. Language development as genetic and other biological mechanisms. At age 6, a child should be able to read well, speak intelligibly, pronounce majority of sounds, talk fluently and with confidence and repeat a sentence that is at least 6 or more words long and 7 to use it appropriately. By the age of 8, children should be able to control the rate, pitch and volume of their speech. Lisps and stuttering sounds have disappeared. Discretion in speech is the main milestone of this age 9. Logical thinking and reasoning expressed in appropriate language is the hallmark of 10-year-old child development. Language development get expressed in increasingly improved skills in listening, speech, reading and writing, use of mathematics and concepts. These developments steadily across age 6 to 10. Progress may appear stable from month to month, but it is dramatic from one school year to the next. It is very important for a teacher to understand this when we handle the classes.